first exercise is to use precisely index and match to fill out the country name and the continent name. So you have here country name and continent name. And then, yeah, so let's start doing that. Oops, I almost showed the answer. So let's start doing that. I'll give you 5 minutes so you can refresh your knowledge about index and match. You can try it out on your own, and then we'll do it together. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for those 2 questions, and then we do it together. So what we're doing is that we're trying to use index and match to fill these 2 columns right here, the country name and the continent name. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. If you
10 seconds left.
I'm getting excited.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time's up. All right. So if you weren't able to finish, don't you worry. We are going to do it together. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to mention is that there's several ways to do the same thing. So maybe you did it a different way and you still got the same result. That also works. The second thing that I want to mention is that in Excel, usually you can do things either by clicking around, writing the formula explicitly, or using some shortcuts. So what am I going to do is that I'm going to show you the shortcuts so you can learn them. I'll show my commands on the screen. Let me activate that. Yeah, but you don't have to do it that way. It's also perfectly fine to just select all the column and do different things. So yeah, hopefully you can catch what I'm doing, especially because I'm showing my commands on the screen. But if it's too fast, don't you worry, you can always go back and watch the video. So how do we do this? The first thing is country name. So we need country name over here. So the very, very first step is that I need to come up with a strategy plan. What is it that am I trying to do? So I have my country code here, but I need the country name. And the country name would be here. If I go on country codes, I see that I have this 2-letter country code. So I can use this to match it to the country name. So in Excel terms, what is it that I specifically need to do? So the first thing I need to do in Excel terms, let me write it here just for reference, is the very first thing I need to do is to use my match function to get the row number of the country code. Because remember, match will, you'll give it a value. So in this case, it's going to be DK or whichever 2 country letter code. And then the function will give you the row number of that country code, so the location. And then step number 2, so once I have that match function, I'm going to use index. So use index, my index function, to return the name of the country. Because remember, with index, you can tell it, give me the value that is in this specific row, in this specific column. So we'll tell it to give us the value of that row, of the column that has the country names, and it will give us the values. So in this case, it's going to be the name of the country. So by knowing that these are my 2 steps, and the same logic follows for the continent name. So instead of country name, it will be continent name. But now that I know that this is the logic, I know that my function is going to look something like index, so equals index, match, and then some stuff here. So I can work with that. And that's going to be my result. So I'm going to screenshot this so you have it for reference. Over here, let me share it in the chat 1 second. 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 1 sec here, so you have it for reference. What are the steps that we're trying to do? And let's get started. So our first step, our very first step, was to use the match function to get the location, the row number of the country code. So I'm gonna start with that. So equals, to tell Excel, I'm gonna write a function, match. So the cool thing is that Excel, you can click on it and then Excel tells you what it is, because nobody remembers this from memory. So now you know, okay, this is the value that I'm gonna look up, then the array where I'm gonna search for it, and then the match type. And if you click here in this arrow, you can also read more about what each thing means. So if you don't remember exactly how to use the match function, you can just look up at this documentation and see what it is. But anyway, so we need our lookup value. So that's gonna be this DK, comma. Depending on your location, in some countries, instead of comma, it's semicolon. So if comma is not working for you, it might be semicolon, depending where you're located. Then the next thing is the lookup array. So where am I going to search for all this information? So all this information is going to be on my highest earning players spreadsheet. No, on the country codes. And it's just going to be the whole range. So it's going to be the whole range of the countries. So here's the 2-letter code. I need a way to select all the column. So what I do is that I click here and I see that my formula is still writing here. And the shortcut that I like to do, so I can select all of them without just scrolling all the way down, is I do command. And remember, when I say command, for Windows users is control. So command, shift, down. And then I was able to select the whole thing, the whole column. And then you can finish the formula here if you want, comma. I want an exact match, so I'm gonna give it a 0. I close my parentheses and I'm gonna hit enter. And then I get number 63. So what does this number mean? If I go back here to country codes and I go to row 63, let's see, 63 is gonna be 64. So DK, it found DK in location number 63, which is Denmark. So now we have that Denmark is in row 63. You might be asking, why am I seeing a 64 here? And this is giving me 63. The reason why is that if we only selected from here, we didn't include this first row. So from the area that you selected is row number 63. If you had selected the title as well, which I saw in the chat, some people did. Some people just did the column D, which is also valid. You would have gotten a 64. So it depends how you do it. Either way is fine. Just be mindful of what are the what is the range that you're using, so you're consistent. I forgot that we also needed to add the dollar signs, because remember in Excel, the dollar signs is just to have an absolute cell reference. That means that it's not going to move around. So let me do this match again so I can show you what is the command that you can use for that. The command to do the absolute cell fixing. You could also just write the dollar signs right here. Dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, and there you go, you will have it. But the command that you can use is function for. So let me show you the different keywords in case you haven't seen this before. So if you have a Windows keyword, is this F4, that's function for. In some Windows computers, you might have to hit this Windows key at the same time to activate this F4. So it depends on your Windows computer. And if you have a Mac, you have to hit this key and this key, which is function 4. So you have to hit the 2 of them. So when I say function 4 or function 5, etc., that's what I mean. You hit this key and the function key. Same for Windows. Either for Windows, sometimes it's just F4, but sometimes you have to hit this Windows key at the same time as F4. So yeah, just here teaching you some tricks. So let's do that match function again, so I can show you the whole thing. So match, I have match, my lookup value. That one doesn't need to be fixed, so it doesn't need the dollar signs because I need it to be dynamic. So once I scroll all the way down the formula, it takes all the other values. So all these other values. So that one doesn't need to be fixed. But the other one, the area where I'm going to be looking at my information, needs to be fixed because you're always going to be looking at the same area. You don't want it to be translated down. So we are going to click on country codes, select this one. If you want to select all of them all the way down, you do Command Shift down. So now you see here that you have select them. And this is where you do function for. So it automatically added the dollar sign. So now it's fixed. Now it's not gonna move around. It's just always gonna look at that window. If you do function for again, it's going to start changing the dollar signs depending on what you want to fix. Do you want to fix the columns? Do you want to fix the rows? So here it's fixing the columns. Here it went back to normal, nothing fixed. And then now I went back again where I'm fixing the whole thing. So I have dollar signs before my column name and dollar signs before my row name. And then I continue the formula, so comma 0, because I want to do an exact match, and I close it, and then I get my result, 63. So that was the first step. The second step is to use this number, which is the row number, with the index function. Because remember, the index function takes the range where you're going to search. It takes the row number and the column number. So this is what we were missing. We were missing this row number, but we do know the column number. The column number is going to be column number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be column number 4. So we do know the number of the column. We know the range, which is basically the whole thing. But we didn't know the row number. But we have the row number now, which is this. So let's build that index function. So I'm going to write index, parentheses, then the array where I'm going to be searching. So I go back here to country codes. I select the first value. And then to be able to select the whole thing, I do Command Shift arrow down, and then Command Shift arrow to the right. So I have selected the whole thing. And I need to fix it. Don't forget to fix it. So function for. And then I fixed only partially some of it. Make sure that you're fixing the whole thing. Oops, I started writing on the formula. So with function for, it should work. But if you just did it like me, that I accidentally pressed another key, then the shortcut is not going to work anymore. So I'm just going to write it by hand. So dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign. So remember, these dollar signs are just fixing the area where we're going to be searching for. So when you drag down the formula, the area doesn't change. So comma right here. So we have the row number, which is the number we're getting from the match. In our first case is going to be that 63. So this whole thing is just giving us that 63. And then comma, the number of the columns is going to be column 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's actually going to be column 1 because we're doing the country name. So column 3, 1, 2, 3, country name. So 3, I close my parentheses and I hit enter, and I have my result right here. I clicked on continent, not on country. Okay, yeah, but I fixed it. And then if you want to drag down the formula all the way down, you can do it 2 ways. So you can, this little square, you can do it multiple ways actually, but this little square that you see here, this little square, you're going to click on it and you can drag it down. That's one way, but the easiest way is to just double click on that little square. So double click on that little square. And there you go. So it populated the whole thing. So we see here all the countries. I'm gonna double click here between the I and the J so I can make this cell as wide as the name of my country so they're not overlapping each other. Okay, so now I have it. Cool, so that was our first formula. How are we doing so far? Let me see some thumbs up, some thumbs down if that was maybe too fast, too many shortcuts.
So I'm actually going to hand it off to Viviana now. Sorry, I'm in like data analytics 5 now.
It rhymes.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. All right.
Hi, Viviana.
Hi everyone. So let me share my screen, get set up, and then we can start. So, all right, cool. Can you guys see my screen? And can you guys hear sounds? All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to your Saturday lecture. It's another Saturday of Correlation 1. As always, really happy to be here. And before we get started, I wanted to, wait. What is that? Oh, sorry, guys. I have to take this for a second. Hello? That's very serious. Are you sure? No, we need to get on top of this right now. I'm going to have to find the best people for this. All right, I'll call you back when we have an update. So, turns out there was a murder in SQL City. I just got a call that there was a murder in SQL City. And it's going to be your task to solve the mystery today. So, what is the background of this mystery? So, it is a misty September morning in SQL City, California. You are relaxing at your office, reading the newspaper and drinking coffee when the telephone rings. It's the familiar voice of one of your high-profile contacts from DC. He wants you, yes, you who are attending this lecture, the most renowned private investigator in town, to help the FBI solve a top-secret cold case. Will you be up to the challenge? So tell me in the chat, will you be up to the challenge to solve this mystery, murder mystery? Yes. We have the best team here to solve this murder mystery. So the first example is to ask the database to show you the data from all the columns in a table. So if you want to see all the columns in a table, you use this wildcard, which is just the asterisk. So that one that is just the asterisk, we do, to specify the table, we use the word from. So this is easier when I show you than when I'm speaking. So you do select and you say which columns you want, but if you want all of them, or if you don't know what are the names of the columns, you can just do star and you do from and you tell them which table. So let's look at the tables here. Let's do interrogation. So the interrogation table. So interrogation and semicolon, and then shift enter again. And I see my table with my description and individual ID. It only has those two. Individual ID, 1981, and then the last one was 45 or 45. And then we run it. Oops, I forgot the semicolon. I run it. So I see all these people, 647, 146, 981, and here it was 45, my bad. So we see the 4 people and license plate. So this is the license plate, CDI13. So Tris MacBroch. Is Tris MacBroch or murderer? Did we just solve the The challenge is Tris Macabre murderer? Well, there's a crooked twist. You might be thinking that you've solved the mystery, but did you? Turns out there's more to this case than meets the eye. The prime suspect has a surprising ace up his sleeve, which means that this case is still not solved and is to be continued.